Trust HPTV. Listen, this is an interesting topic, and it's important that you pay attention and think about what I'm saying. As you come in, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, a lot of people may not like what I'm finna say, but what I'm saying is the truth, and it's paramount to the survival and the economic survival of Black people. Now, Black people, everybody has a situation in our community as it relates to the overturning of affirmative action. And Black women say they're the least protected and the most disrespected. But the Biden administration still didn't give Black people any type of protection bills like they did the Asians. You must stop patronizing the Asians' business establishments because they're waging economic war against our community. Let me show you something. This is for fair usage. Look at this.
Alex Shea, prospective Brown University student. I know, Alex, you're on the other side of this. You were hoping that the Supreme Court would move in the direction that it did today. Why do you think that this is the right way to move forward on this?
Right. Well, I think this is a win for students all across America because we shouldn't be judging students based on their race when we're deciding who gets into what schools. I think that I believe that your previous guest is mistaken.
Okay, the previous guest was the Black lady, was the sister. And the problem with what he's saying is affirmative action came from the civil rights movement. And the civil rights movement had to be done because after slavery, Jim Crow, oppression, and redlining, they had put Black people in a position where we were at the social and economic bottom of the society. So Black people marched and they did the things they did under the 14th Amendment to get affirmative action. Affirmative action is what allowed the Asians and African immigrants and Indian immigrants to be able to come in this country and get the benefits that was afforded to Black people after the 14th Amendment and after everything we had struggled for. And the Asians have came out over the last couple of years directly attacking policies that benefited Black people and Black children. And if you don't know, let me be the first to tell you, Asians are more racist against Black people than white people. In Chinese culture, they call you Black devils. And yet you go to their stores and their businesses and you buy the hair products that they only make for you. You go and you pay them to do your nails like there's no Black people who can do your nails and your feet. And at the same time, they're undermining everything that could benefit Black people and Black children. When this guy talks about removing affirmative action, he's talking about removing something that was instilled and put in place to assist Black people who have been the victim of years and years of racial oppression in this country. And the Asians, the very people you patronize in their stores, the very people you make rich, came out against it. You got to stop promoting your enemies.
In this regard, because I think that by getting rid of affirmative action, now we look at the individual student and what they've accomplished, and we can look at what barriers they've overcome. But we view them as an individual first and foremost, as opposed to just viewing them as a blob in an amorphous, larger racial group, as opposed to just under this new system, we get to view students for who they are as individuals. And I think that's a much better way to go forward on this topic.
You heard Booby's point there, though, that this now forces students, if they want the school to take into account race in some fashion or form, that they're going to have to now write about this.
Right. Well, I think that fundamentally, right, for most people, race is just a characteristic. It's sort of the way that your body manifests. I think that for some students that does play a role in how they experience the world, but for some students,
what he's doing is he's being disingenuous. Affirmative action again came from the civil rights movement. It was a byproduct of the civil rights movement. It had to be put in place because of the redlining and the things that was being done to African Americans or black people. And these Asians, they using a double talk, and this is not the first one. There's so much footage that these are the people who directly challenged and sued in the Supreme Court to disband affirmative action. Now, you may have some bootlicks and sometimes they say that we didn't need affirmative action, but affirmative action is what allowed black people to get into certain schools that had been barred from us based on race and based on color. So now he's trying to say that it should be overturned and the Asians should be able to get in and take the place of black people. You know what I mean? For real, affirmative action was a step towards reparation. It was a step towards equality for black people. No matter how you slice it and what you think about what I'm saying, or if you still that type of black person that I want to love everybody, I want to unite with everybody. When you have to see that nobody is aligning themselves with you, they're attacking the very policies and benefits that you fought for. They've used them and now they're slamming the door in your face. You have to stop buying a Chinese food. Stop going to them. Sisters, y'all got to get back to doing your own hair, your own nails. Y'all got to find a way because at this point, you are funding your enemies. These are the people that's going to be running all the businesses in your communities. And yet at the same time, they put you further at the bottom. And if you don't care, if you're that vain that you will go and give money to your enemies while they attack you in your face, they playing in your face. Let's listen to this Chinese person talk about race in America.
Just doesn't. And I think that allowing them that option to express that in an essay, for instance, affords much more freedom because race doesn't affect everybody the same way. And to just have a blanket policy where everybody's race is considered no matter what, I don't think that's appropriate because it impacts different people in different ways. I find that a lot of these arguments oftentimes in favor of affirmative action are somewhat incongruous because I've heard a lot of people that say like, hey, affirmative action, it's a good way to overcome past discrimination. But in my experience, as an Asian American, I'm not exactly sure.
When he said past discrimination, he said forget. See, everybody want to keep telling black people to forget racism, to forget that you being oppressed. Forget the fact that the Democratic Party betrayed black women. Y'all came out for Joe Biden. Y'all came out supporting them, and they undermined everything that you held sacrosanct in just one term. Just think about it. Think about the overturned Roe versus Wade abortion rights. The women, the Asian women, got that crime bill when 8 black women were deleted at their grocery store, and they didn't give black women nothing. Then they come at affirmative action, which is something that they're taking for your future children and the children that you have now, and they're replacing this system on the whims of these Asian people who are attacking it. Now, if you can't see, or you haven't been in this country, or you haven't even walked in an Asian store, and how they follow you and they watch you, I don't even understand. This is a no-brainer. Every time you look on these news shows and you see who actually sued in the Supreme Court to overturn affirmative action, it was the Asians, it was the Chinese, it was the very people that you have been giving your money to. And now they come out and they say that race doesn't matter. And he's talking about racial discrimination against black people. That's what we're talking about. He said that was in the past.
Or how that works for me because it's much more difficult for Asian Americans to gain admittance to schools than for white students, for instance. And I don't think that you'll see in the past any instance of Asians discriminating against whites. So for me, that sort of just falls flat.
Again, he's being disingenuous. He says white people have benefited more than Asians. That's what he's trying to say, that it's white people, because he doesn't want to say the truth about that affirmative action was aiding black people to get into certain schools and get uh, uh, a edge up in the admittance process. I worked at Wayne County Community College for years in the financial aid office. I watched, and when I went to Wayne State is full of agents, and I went to class with these agents. These agents, they have this thing that they put out that they work hard. They work hard. They work harder than black people. They work. That's not the truth. They come over here and they benefit from the civil rights that we fought for. They don't have to pay taxes for years. You know what I mean? They're giving every advantage over us. And then as soon as they get in position, they turn on us and turn on the policies that benefit us. It's very disingenuous. I went to college with these Asians. They are no different than any other student when the student applies itself. They weren't getting better grades than me. I'm in the International Honor Society. It's not full of Asians. They're not in the top percentile. That's a myth that they say. When I was inducted into the Honor Society and given my show, you would be surprised how many black people, poor white people, all kind of people got in the International Society because it was about maintaining the 4.0. But what he's attacking, and they're using a straw man argument to say that they work harder than anybody so that they should have the same benefits that black people have fought in the civil rights for, even though they benefited from us being lynched, us being bit by dogs, hit with water hoses. These agents, stop giving them your money. You have to for your children, it's not for nothing else.
I'm going to Brown next year, and I'm happy that the admissions officers at Brown took me for whatever reason. But it does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Now, my aunt went to Brown in Rhode Island, Carolyn Scott. That's where she got her degrees in psychology. She went to Brown at 17 years old because on her score, she was considered a genius. Wasn't no affirmative action that helped her get into Brown University. That's not how she got in. That's not how Martin Luther King graduated at 17 and got those degrees before he was even 25 years old. He had a master's degree. It wasn't affirmative action. It was the fact that that man was dynamic in his intellectual prowess. This is a straw man. This is an attack. Have you ever heard of the book Tiger Mom? Tiger Mom was written by a Chinese mother. And the Chinese mother talked about how it was her duty to give her children every advantage over everybody else. And that's what they worked on. That's what they worked on. They didn't let their children have summer off. They worked and structured themselves to compete. Wow. So, see, black people, they want equality. Black people, y'all always striving for equality, while everybody else is striving for superiority. Who's going to win? If you just saying, I just want to be equal, and the other person say, I don't want to be equal. I want to be better than you. Who you think gonna come out on top? Because you had this fake reality that you can embrace other cultures and you don't mind that you're spending your money with your enemy. Are you that vain? You can't polish your own toes anymore. You can't do your own nails anymore. You rather go in these Asian stores where they kicking your ass and following you around the store and disrespecting you, and then you give them your money and they go right and use your money and get lawyers and go get bills overturned and bills enacted that put them in a better economic and political situation than you. It's insane that you would do this. Like, do you see a future for your children? When you look at your children, do you see a future for your children, or do you just say, I had them, I'm gonna put a roof over their head, and then they're on their own, I don't care what happens to them? That's how a lot of black parents are. You know what I mean? For real. I put a roof over your head, and I did this. Now, however you survive in the world, that's gonna be on you. You know what I mean? But they don't work to give you no advantage. You look at these black mothers, they do not work to give their children an advantage. They work for their children to just be taken care of. They go to work for 8 hours, they buy their kids some Jordans and send them to the movies and buy them video games or whatever, which already is causing your children to lose academically and economically and socially. But at the end of the day, you are actually going to let these people take your money and use your money to overcome and beat you to the point to where you're not only below the Asians, you're below Mexicans who finna come in and replace you and everything else. And this is not about uh us being prejudiced against them, because that's an impossibility. Because prejudice means to prejudge. And you can't prejudge something that you have over 400 or 500 years of experience with. The only way you can prejudge it is for you to think that they're going to change. That would be a prejudgment because you haven't seen change. That's a prejudgment. That's prejudice.
Knowing that in that admissions office, when they were deciding whether they were going to accept me, reject me, that they might have been considering my race, because I think that that's not something that I can control or that anyone can control. And I think that it's unfair to judge someone based on that when there are really so many better ways to judge students based on their character, based on their accomplishments. Race, it's just how you're born, and you can't change it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel.
I don't know if a lot of you really understand what he was trying to say in a nice way. But if you go on there, you can see all the Asians that actually overturned affirmative action and sued in there. They know our culture. They study us. You know what I mean? They study us. You got to study the people that you come and market to. Have you ever you don't see Asians dominating the stores and following white people around in their stores? So white people don't go in there buying weave and buying stuff. White people go to their own people to get certain things like that. They have their own cosmetic lines or whatever. But it's black women out here that make cosmetics and make oils and body butters and all of that. You got to stop doing this, because it's tantamount to traitorism. It's tantamount to you being a traitor against your own race. And then you sit around playing gender politics, and you're not even looking for a future for your children, not even your teenage children, less known your little children. It's about turning up, it's about twerking, it's about getting the hair and nails done. And at the same time, these people are working diligently against you. Now, it didn't offend you that they got a crime bill, an Asian protection bill, knowing that no one is more in danger, in threat in this American society than black people and black women, but yet they were still able to maneuver and put themselves first before you. Now they are the ones. A lot of you didn't know that it was the Asian community that sued to have affirmative action overturned. White people have tried it over the years and in the past, and they made a squawk about it. But we got past that. So they use somebody else who could say, well, I'm a person of color. That's how they getting y'all with people of color. You got to stick to who you is. You are black people who suffered over 400 years of slavery, oppression, Jim Crow, and redlining and discrimination to this day. You had to march. When have you seen, is there any footage in America of white people sicking German shepherds on Asians, watering them down with water hose? Have you seen any attacks on Asians the way you've seen attack on black people? Have any Asian churches been shot up? You see them lynching Asians? You got to wake up. If you're a black woman and you subscribe to my channel, share this video with another black woman. Y'all have to really stop that. Y'all can't keep giving these people your money, and at the same time, these people is working against your future and your children's future. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. You know what I mean? It's not logical. It's a bad thing. It's a real bad thing, because they keep coming at you. They keep coming at you. He's talking about race and he's talking about oppression as if he don't know the history of this country. They don't care. And they're using it because the demographics with the Democratic constituency now is changing. You think Biden and them don't know that we realized that all the stuff that they did since they've been in office, that now people's going independent and not really finna vote Democratic because the Democrats have betrayed us too many times as a people. And they know a lot of us are coming out against this. So they're allowing Asians and other nationalities to attack us. It's just like how they fight proxy wars, how in Vietnam, you know, the country is behind the Vietnamese and they sponsoring the war, but they throwing rocks and they had in their hands. And they doing it right now with these Asians. Y'all got to wake up. Wake up. Please like, share this video. Keep your head on the swivel. Peace.